So out of the blue, this fella is telling me there is this promising experiment down in Birmingham at University of Alabama at Birmingham Medical School on protein crystal growth. But they had not been able to get a crew member to dedicate the time to do the experiment. It just so happened that just a few months earlier, I had lost a girl that was like a sister to me to breast cancer. So I was highly sensitized. And when I heard that, I knew that that was the experiment, the primary one. I ended up doing 12 medical experiments, but that was my primary experiment. This is me. It's a rather crude thing. What they do today is automated. Mine obviously was done by hand. You can see it's much more sophisticated today. This was a rack that I had to pull in and out. It had no vibration control. There was no temperature control. Very, very crude. But you ought to see this, although not the crystals that I grew, they're even more dramatic than this. You can see crystals grown in 1 gravity on Earth and crystals grown in microgravity on orbit. And so what these guys have done is they do this experimentation while they are on orbit for 6 months. In the case of Frank, bless his heart, he was there for a year. And they're starting to have dramatic results. So take, for example, protein crystal growth, which allows you to grow a larger and, to use my unsophisticated terms, more pure or ultra pure crystal, which allows you then to better understand its complex makeup in the molecular structure, which allows you to then manipulate it to do what you want to do in cancer research. And one of the things that they are doing, for example, the drug Keytruda. Keytruda is this phenomenally successful drug against several types of cancer. As a matter of fact, remember, President Carter had been given like 2 or 3 months to live, and he was administered Keytruda. He is still alive. This was 2 or 3 years ago. Well, what they've discovered by being able to analyze the drug, they can make it in more pure form by what they've learned on analyzing the drug in microgravity. And as a result, a patient doesn't have to do the painful and often very lengthy IVs in the hospital, but can do it in a doctor's office with a shot. That's just one example. Another example, they can determine with this crystallization, they can determine the markers that they can attach to a cancer cell, which enables the drug to get to that cancer cell and not kill all the surrounding tissue. That's just one thing. Another thing, stem cells. You think about it, millions and millions of stem cells. And we grow them on Earth, and they, again, this is my unsophisticated analysis and explanation. They all, because of gravity, clump together, and a lot of them die. You take them to microgravity, and they're suspended. And these organoids that the doctor has been educating the 3 of us about earlier this morning, they can grow these mini organs, an organoid, and therefore they can experiment in microgravity on a drug's effect on an organ instead of having to do this on the whole organ on Earth. Now, this is just the beginning. So, indeed, we are very privileged at NASA to be a part of the Cancer Moonshot cabinet. And I think because of the work of folks like this, that you're going to see increasingly breakthroughs that are going to very much revolutionize medical advances with regard to cancer.
Cancer touches all of our lives because we all have loved ones who've been affected by that. And so knowing that NASA is now going to be part of this effort is really an incredible honor. And we not only get to be researchers and scientists, but the reality is we also get to be part of the testing because there is such a unique environment in space, both because of microgravity and radiation, obviously. The equivalent of about 1,000 chest x-rays is what we're exposed to when you're in space for about 6 months. And so for a year, it's probably a little bit more than that. And there's only been, so far, one person who's been up there for a year, but there's been 4 of us who've been up there for close to a year. And I'm confident that many more will spend more time, especially as we endeavor to go back to the moon and onward to Mars. This is something that we absolutely have to do. And so this effort is uniquely personal to all of us as an astronaut corps. And the reality, again, is that it's an honor to represent both NASA and our country. Yes, microgravity and space actually provides a very unique environment where biological processes tend to accelerate. Not only things like cancer cells or stem cells, but actually the aging process, unfortunately for all of us. The things we see like bone density loss, muscle density loss, immunological changes, cardiopulmonary output changes, those all tend to mimic aging. But the beauty of it is what we figured out is that we can reverse a lot of those changes when we come back and by putting the proper measures in place. And so what astronauts used to lose up to 20% of our bone density for long duration flights, now we're losing less than 5%. And it's because of those measures that we put in place and putting in the work. But ultimately, I think this is a problem that we will absolutely help to solve, and we're honored to be a part of it. So thank you.
Really exciting to be up here today to be a part of the Cancer Moonshot. I kind of have to digress a little bit. This summer, I called a friend of mine on his birthday in July to wish him a happy birthday. Just after Christmas, he had a relapse. And 2 weeks ago, or a month ago, I came up to see him and things seemed to be getting better. A week and a half ago, I was here for his funeral. So, this stuff really touches home. The parents, friends, family. It's a real issue, obviously, going forward. And there have been initiatives through the decades and to really focus on cancer and working hard to find those solutions and having the opportunity to do research in space. 38 years seems like a long time because that's basically Woody's age. But that is the incredible thing that we do at NASA. We do this research and it continues. And everything we learn along the way. When I first started going to space station, there was a crew of 3, and they had to spend an incredible amount of time maintaining and operating that station alone. The amount of time that we had to focus on research in particular was a lot more limited, and the capabilities of the vehicle were a lot more limited. But now, with a crew of 7, 4 USOS astronauts at any given time, the research we're able to undergo and conduct on orbit is exponentially increased, plus the automation that we now have. I've been around a while, so I helped build the space station, and I kind of joke. So we had VTRs. You all know what video tape recorders? No, some of these people don't remember video tape recorders. But that was a major way of collecting data. And the ability to get real-time data and real results from space station now is absolutely incredible. It was a Saturday afternoon, Sultan was working an experiment called Cardinal Heart, and we could all hear the chatter over the comms. And that heart cell started beating. And it was, you could hear the excitement in the primary investigators' words. It was just incredible to be a part of that science and research. And that's something that I don't think everybody gathers. And so I'm going to mention 38 years ago, not to say how long ago that was, but it really tells you that the basic research that we do on space station, in space, that we've been doing for more than 24 years on board space, or more than 23 years on board space station, but really for over half a century in space, the impact that has, and continuing that as we go forward, whether it be on space station for at least another 6 years, or onto other vehicles, and the rate of what we can do in space with our communication systems and the dedication of fellow astronauts to be able to help work those experiments is absolutely incredible. So I'm incredibly excited to help represent the Cancer Moonshot for obviously a number of reasons, but the excitement that it will bring, the research opportunities, and focusing what we have learned on the ground and in space, and continuing to learn those things. It's not going to get lost, it's going to get better. And I want to thank you all very much for your time.